All right, so welcome everybody to another episode of Rocket to Relevance. I'm Ronald, your host of today, and today is another interesting topic about e-commerce. Together with Jorn, I will be talking about e-commerce strategy and e-commerce roadmap and the importance of those within the business. But first, please introduce yourself and welcome to lovely Zwolle.
Yeah, thanks Ronald. Nice to be here and thanks for having me. My name is Jorn de Vreede. I work as a digital strategist for Youwe. Youwe is a digital agency which has a lot of diverse clients, mainly in the e-commerce sector, but also some larger B2B clients or other...
well known in the Benelux, but also outside the Benelux nowadays.
Agreed. I think we're still trying to expand, but it's also, when it comes to e-commerce, I guess it's an interesting market right now where you see macroeconomical climate, the boom after COVID. So you see that you probably noticed that as well. That some clients are a bit in a decline or in a tough spot, but that also means that you have to be more creative as a strategist to try to get most value.
I already feel the topic boiling up for today, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Can you maybe talk a bit more about your experience in e-commerce and what you did in the past few years, perhaps?
Yeah, so no, I have a background. I'm actually an electronic engineer, so something totally different. But cool. For some reason, I rolled into the internet business years ago. Worked a long time for an agency in Groningen, which did a lot of large clients. So I worked for clients like ABN AMRO, etc.
Yeah, the big bank here in the Netherlands.
Big bank, I did all the stock market stuff for them, etc. And then slowly that agency, started working for less commerce-driven clients. I moved over to Youwe a few years ago, and never looked back. Quite interesting, to be working for clients again that really want to,
Yeah, that's also what I find interesting in the e-commerce business. It's very dynamic. Every year you learn something new, basically. Adapting to new phases and new opportunities and new possibilities technically as well. So that's always on the move, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. See the cycle of innovation, etc. is quite a lot higher than with other industries.
That's maybe also a nice bridge towards the topic of today. It's a fast changing environment, lots of things happening, lots of new opportunities arrive. So you need to be agile, flexible to make the best of those opportunities as well.
Agreed.
And therefore, strategy comes in place. How do you look into the topic, and how do you approach such strategy questions from within Youwe?
Yeah, if you look from the beginning, if you really strategy is like a lot of people say, okay, strategy. What exactly is strategy? And I always say, well, strategy is like the art of improving your odds, right? So it's really trying to ensure that you will survive in the long run, and not only just chase the next shiny object, and ensure that you really look into look into your own landscape, which also means looking at your competitors, but also look at your internal processes, etc. And then, of course, look at your IT landscape. And
because that's what we often see as well within e-commerce. Lots of successful web shops that might be too successful and then get into troubles after a few years.
Yeah, that they have scalability issues.
Scalability issues.
Yes, it can be all diverse. It can be supply chain issues, all kinds of stuff, of course. And it's. I guess it's important to not only look at that part, and that's also what we try to do. Even though we're the digital agency, we still want to look at the core processes of our clients and see where we can help and improve that.
Yeah, are there any specific areas you map, or are several important ones to?
What I always tend to do is, of course, try to really understand, what do you want to achieve? What's your goal for the long run? So that's where we usually use a really basic approach and do like a BHAG exercise. So where we really, the big, hairy, audacious goal, for the people who don't know that, which is an exercise to look at, what do you really want to achieve in the long run? And but also, have a look at, the current IT landscape, what are the issues there, current IT processes, there's a lot of stuff, where people, I don't want to say mess up, but can be work more efficient, internally.
Can improve in some areas.
Improve in some areas and make sure that, and then of course also look at the client side of it, so the UX part of, what is the actual value proposition you have, and does that still match with your clients? Do you need perhaps look at different new client areas, etc. And I guess if you combine those three, then you have a sweet spot where you can make a difference.
And when you talk about the long run, what do you consider long run within e-commerce?
I think in the long run, we now don't look a lot further ahead than 1 year with each client. But when we look at the BHAG exercise, of course, then we look for a further horizon, like 5 to 10 years.
Ambitious, right? That's more
ambitious, where do you want? What's your vision? Where you want to end up? But if you look at e-commerce, you said it already. It's a fast-paced environment, lots of changes. So that will mean also, don't look ahead. Too far because you don't know.
You don't know what's
when
coming
you see you're walking up a mountain, and when you're up there, you don't know where the next hill will be or what next challenge you will have. So
true.
And so we try to map out and say, okay, that will give us enough work for like a year, but then we look quarterly to actually are we still on course or do we need to change?
Track?
On track.
What's the progress so far? Also compared to the budget, of course.
Definitely.
And could you maybe take us with such a session? How would it look like? More pragmatical, like?
Okay. So if we onboard clients, we usually have like what we call a strategy mapping session. It depends on the size of the client, etc. That usually starts with me upfront having stakeholder interviews with some C-level people, decision makers, etc., to really know what their vision is. And then depending on the setting of the group, that can also mean like the marketing department, purchasing department, etc. We then do the BHAG exercise, but we also do interesting things like I really always love to do a really simple exercise, which I call the pre-mortem, which is like, okay, imagine we're 5 years ahead in this game and everything failed. So explain to me, why did we fail, And then you get like really interesting results because people start writing down stuff on Post-its like, internal stuff, biggest fears,
nightmares.
Internal stuff which they think will cause the issues, and that already gives you a really good insight, on what could be other stuff we need to take care of.
Fun to do.
Fun to do. Of course. Ideally, we do research up front with clients. So some clients, we actually get the budget to also do like UX research. So that can mean like focus group sessions or usability testing, etc. So really look at the generative side. So where can we improve? What's the need of the clients? Because that's usually a blind spot for a lot of companies because they say, we've been doing this for ages. We know what our client wants, and that's never the case.
That sounds familiar.
That sounds familiar. So we have that one, and then we look at the value proposition canvas, and of course combine that with the, usually we have a separate session for really mapping the IT landscape, and we try to really look at also what are your top competitors, what are they doing right, what's in your opinion are they doing wrong, and try to find a sweet spot, the niche where can you make a difference. So you have
not to look too much into the competitors, but also see like, hey, where are your strong points?
Where are your strong points? And if a competitor is miles ahead, there's no, you have to throw so much money at it to try to come to the same level. Perhaps you can differentiate and find a different strategy to still make a living.
And I also understood you use a certain framework, a model to also distinguish like different opportunities and what to pursue at first and to prioritize stuff.
We when we did the mapping, we then you have BHAG, so you have like a high over objective. We then try to, so we use the OGSM framework, objectives, goals, strategies, and measures. So the objective is words, trying to explain, to all the personnel of the company, this is where we're heading. The goals are like numbers. So that could mean, the usual stuff like we want to grow to...
and numbers like in
numbers
KPIs?
In KPIs, this amount of revenue, increasing conversion rate, stuff like this. And then you have the strategies, which are again words, and this is where we really try to, well, not say standardize, but at least we in all these years of e-commerce we laid out a few tracks which we say, okay, these are the focus areas, the main themes we really try to help clients with. And so we have like the basic layer, like platform operations, which is like your basic maintenance of your IT landscape, where you have to budget something, and depending on where you are in your current situation,
and basic
could mean that
like
we need to do like a foundational thing to rework something.
But also maintenance, patches, hosting,
stuff like that.
security.
So then the next layer is, of course, performance and insights. We've seen, performance in different, it can be performance when it comes to speed of a website, etc. But it can also mean like performance of campaigns, etc. And of course, insights. We see a lot of stuff where, assumptions are being made, or people are really flying blind and just wing it based on gut sense, gut feel, and we really like to have the real data available. So it could mean like for performance, use RUM Vision as a tool, for instance, to understand what the performance of a website is, and if there are any issues on that case. And then if you have those two, then you can really look at, stuff like innovation, loyalty, acquisition, so more like the marketing side of things.
Cost of acquisition is a big topic nowadays.
So those are the things, where we then focus on. And of course, user experience, which is, I believe, one of the future topics which will become more and more prominent. In this,
I can imagine.
I think there's a really big race to the bottom when it comes to pricing, and that's not sustainable. You see companies failing because they can't make any margins anymore. So you really have to make a difference. And then the standard companies like Coolblue, etc., of course, pop up in your head, because they're not the cheapest, but still people buy there because they're fun, they're good, they deliver. So that's
true.
Key difference.
And of course, at Tweakwise, I speak to a lot of e-commerce managers, product owners, and most of them respond like, "Oh my backlog is so huge. I don't have any time for inspiration, events, or additional tooling or improvements." Do you have a tip for them, maybe an advice?
In business cases, I guess it's. I think it's really important, what we do when we do these strategies. So we think of, what are your main strategies, and then decide, okay, how we're going to measure if these strategies are a success. And when it comes to innovation, right, and new tooling, etc., I think. If you can just say to your stakeholders, if you're a product owner or e-commerce manager, and say, okay, if we now decide to, go for Hoover, for instance, an example, the theme where of course, you have to invest to rework the entire front end, but afterwards, the performance gains could really mean like,
it's a really big topic nowadays within the Magento community.
Additional, say for instance, 100K revenue, and and after the first year, and it might cost you perhaps the same if it's a really big web shop to convert. So after that, we'll be making money again, and then that is like a solid business case to really say, okay, let's push this forward and tackle some other stuff.
Imagine. But I can also imagine there are maybe many business cases that improve or add to the e-commerce environment.
True.
Is there any method or methodology used to prioritize them? Or I know, for example, within Scrum, you have the T-shirt sizing. Like this is the amount of time that's being needed for implementation, and this is the effort, so to say. But also this is what it will bring the platform, or will bring or add to the platform. I personally think there should be way more focused on the things that make impact in the short run, or not losing the long run out of sight, but still prioritizing seems to be one of the biggest issues of e-commerce managers.
Yeah, I think so. I can agree. And what we try to do, you're saying it already, is do like a value versus effort map where you have like 4 quadrants and say, okay, stuff that's low in effort and high in value, that's low hanging fruit. Always
get it done,
as soon as possible. And then of course when you go to high investment and still a high result, those are more like your strategic parts, where you really have to focus on the long run. So you now see a lot of clients really starting to move into moving their data into a PIM, for instance, because of the digital passports from the EU coming up, sustainability issue.
Legislation.
Legislation. So you have to be compliant. So and I guess that also brings a lot of other advantages as well, right? So we see a lot of more strategic things like this, like data quality now popping up because of the AI hype and this.
Also important for the Tweakwise input, by the way.
Of course,
with no value input, you don't have a good result or a good output. So. And speaking of which, what kind of topics do you see on roadmaps? What are really big topics that you need to address nowadays within e-commerce?
Some of these, like what I was saying, like the digital product passport is one of the things which is now popping up. But also we like, for instance, the Accessibility Act, which is coming up for web shops as well next end of June, I think is going to be, and I guess for Dutch web shops that won't be a big deal. And we saw the same with the entire cookie law. Didn't come to fines immediately.
No,
but it can also deliver value. It's also good to know that there's still like, I guess, 8 to 10% people in the Netherlands that also have like a disability. So you can still
it's a lot of opportunity to be unlocked.
Opportunity to also unlock, and I guess it's just common good practice, to try to adhere to it as much as possible. But when it comes to, it really depends on the maturity of clients. If you have smaller clients, they might still need, even, we would advise Tweakwise to start, improving the way people can search.
When you just start a web shop, then that wouldn't be my first step.
Those are the low hanging fruits then, of course. So that really depends. But if we look at bigger clients, it can be all kinds of stuff, like improving the checkout flow. It really depends. Then we really want to onboard like a CRO specialist and really start to look at the nitty-gritty details and see where we can improve the smaller things.
I also hear that like profitable e-commerce is a thing. Not just making revenue, but also
making margin.
Making margin. So also topics like maybe automation or efficiency, or whether that's by managing your web shop or maybe even managing your warehouse. I can imagine those are also big topics.
Yeah, the hard part is, of course, that's usually where our sphere of influence diminishes a little bit, because we are more front-end based. Of course, we do some, also tooling like connecting systems in between, etc., for certain clients. And I have some odd clients where we do like really specific things, where we really do backbone systems, like really fancy stuff in PIM systems for actually creating their products, etc. So it's not that we don't have that much influence, but if you look at, you can look at the side of new business, of course, look at your marketing budgets, etc. Where do you spend it? And when you look more internally, it's stuff like warehouse optimization, inventory, stuff like that.
Inventory management,
pricing, of course. Dynamic pricing is a thing which is becoming a topic as well. Which has its advantage, I guess. And
And I heard once that a customer without a roadmap isn't a customer. What's your vision on it?
I could agree. I think it's even even if a customer has something in his head, you could call it a roadmap, of course, that's for sure. But I would prefer that it's, the way we work is actually we move the entire roadmap also into Jira, which you probably know, a lot of clients will know.
Project management tool, right?
Project management tool, for developers to handle all the issues. So we have a really structured approach where we move the OGSM and say, we even colorize the Jira plan to say, we're now working on UX stories. So that would mean, for instance, an epic regarding, what could be an example? Improving, flow for helping customers, could be like a guided selling kind of thing or something. That would mean that we need an epic, which we say, the epic, what is the goal of this epic, business-wise, who's responsible, who's accountable, etc. We try to put all that stuff in Jira in the epic and say, when is it done for the business? And then you can also, create the use stories. Say, this will mean for the UXer means this kind of stuff. Developers can think of the proper solution, and do the estimation on it. And I think that is a good way to also report back on your progress and say, and also, if it's a proper business case. So, for instance, the epic could mean like an extra 100K a year. You also have different discussions. If we all know in this business that IT, it's really hard. You just called the T-shirt sizing. It's not that for nothing. We still have discussions with clients. But why is it like why this one take like an extra 100 hours? Unexpected results. It's a spaghetti landscape sometimes.
It's IT.
It's IT. But if you have the business case in order, then it's also, you can still, for the business say, we ran over budget, but it's still going to deliver value. So let's finish this epic and then move on to the next.
When I hear you between the lines, it's also a lot of stakeholder management, right? Setting up a proper roadmap and being a product owner.
I don't have to do the product ownership, thank God.
Thank God.
But, I think that's definitely a thing. It's I see a lot of different levels of product ownership with all the different clients, and of course, as a strategist, I try to assist the product owner if necessary, but. I definitely think that's the underrated side of product ownership, where it's really about, taking, aligning the stakeholders and making them understand, what's what the impact and what the difficulties can also be, when they just say, no, we're not going to change something on our warehouse, on our ERP, it could mean an entire rework of how do we get the data then, etc. So I think that's definitely an underrated part. And for a lot of, it's also for when we look at from the development side, if we look from the agency perspective, you also see, a good product owner will manage this stuff, and
will definitely improve the whole process.
Explain it to the developers why something has to change, and sometimes it is kill your darlings sometimes,
Of course, the product owner also decides whether to reshuffle the roadmap, for example. And to be clear, that's still possible, right? It's not set in stone.
It's definitely not set in stone.
We need to be flexible, adjustable to what's coming up.
Agreed. So what we usually do, after we did this first inventorization and created a roadmap, as I said before, it's we never plan way too far ahead, and we have like steercos, which are more like operational regarding budget, etc. We on track once every month, and then every third month we do like a quarterly business review where we also invite C-level stakeholders to really reevaluate the roadmap, discuss what is new in the business as well, so we always try to inspire, and we also do like a really thorough evaluation of the collaboration, right, on certain levels. Are we still delivering value for you guys, or is there's do we believe we still have enough budget to if we continually see that a client is asking more, perhaps we should have a discussion
about the budget as well,
right? So it's both ways, and I believe that's the true key to try to blend a little bit and become like a true partnership between the agency and the client.
And what would be your recommendation to those that don't have a roadmap in place yet?
So start
Start
first.
yesterday.
Start yesterday. No, but it's also, if you, for instance, like a metaphor, if you. If you want to build a house, you also first you need to do the architecture and decide what's how many rooms, etc. So without strategy mapping or without really understanding where you want to be in the end, then a roadmap has no use, right? And so the plan to build it will become really
and I did experiment myself with a web shop myself, and I noted like, hey, you are continuously in a daily struggle, daily operations, and I think it's really important as well to zoom out a little bit, to take some time, get some good advice, and think about those strategies and goals.
Agreed. So that's the first part, right? And then for sure you really need like a plan, approach where you don't start building the roof, you start building with your foundation, right? So that's definitely
that's the same within e-commerce too.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Any takeaways for this Rocket to Relevance edition?
Don't underestimate strategizing. I think it's also for a lot of companies, it's still like, our strategy is to grow to 50 million next year. That's not
numbers,
a strategy. That's numbers. That's just so that's not a strategy, and you can't keep people. Because of course your personnel also wants a why. What they're doing, etc. So I think. The key thing here is not to underestimate the importance of formulating this stuff, and it can really help in just also taking the personnel along in this journey.
Yeah. And also the OGSM framework can be used for that. Like, hey, these are our goals. This is how we get there. And hey, guys, come join us in our mission, so to say.
Yeah, for sure. You can definitely share it with your clients. And the good thing about OGSMs is also that they can be cascading, right? So you can even say you have like a big OGSM for your entire company, but you can then say, okay, for HR, this would mean, we can do an OGSM of our own, which aligns with the bigger OGSM. So that's a really nice thing about OGSM framework. And I guess a tip on that one is we used to do it. We also did the strategy with our own board when it came to do the same in our town hall meetings. We would also present the entire OGSM framework. And that can be a bit daunting because even though we say, it's like a strategy on one piece of paper, on an A4, you can still put a lot of words and a lot of numbers in there. So that's and numbers
to explain. And
if you just put numbers there, you can still, and they can be up for interpretation. So
of course,
definitely just try to flow that into more like a storyline or a presentation, and to explain it to your personnel, and also, of course, to the rest. To an HCC, for instance, if you want to pivot or something. Yeah.
Good takeaway.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all these insights, Jorn. And start with building your roadmaps, everybody. If you don't have them, but I can imagine that most competitive, serious e-commerce parties do have a roadmap in place, and hopefully know where to get at least within the next year.
Yeah.
We know you guys at Youwe can help if needed. And you do so for many clients over the year.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing these insights and those pragmatical tips.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me.
Love to see you in the next podcast.